So welcome everybody. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I appreciate everyone joining us today. Good to see you all. And with that, I will go next to our first action item, which is approval of the January 25 meeting minutes.
So I move approval.
Move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, brings us to public comment. Are we going to sign up for that, or are we just going to?
Yes, Mr. Hardy signed up, I'm sorry, I left the sheet
Okay.
over there.
Mr. Hart?
I think he's the only one.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today. Today, some of my comments are on my behalf. I will tell you that some of my comments are on the behalf of someone else living in our community. Nice lady named Mrs. Duncan. Her and her husband live on Depot Road, 2837 Depot Road, and they reached out to me as a function related to our landfill citizens group to express who could they go to about problems that they're experiencing at their home. Okay, I offered my willingness to speak on her behalf. Her husband is 80, she is 74. Was not able to be here today. Okay, they're looking for something very simple. Where they live, they have the unfortunate displeasure of having to look out their front windows or sit on their front porch, or anytime they are in the front of their home, they are having to stare at the landfill, which has now risen up, to new heights. They have to watch every day as garbage and sludge are dumped, birds swarming around, and so they can't enjoy their own home. Her request was a simple one, is can somebody plant trees? Can there be screening? Can there be things? And I told her that that is a function that y'all should really look into. I will tell you that other people have reached out to me, and again, in my capacity, I can tell you that even on 24, the eyesore, as they continue to dictate and determine, which I would agree with, is just growing. The eyesore is growing. That's not appreciated by folks in the community. Certainly, I know that you've got business that you're doing, but again, I challenge you and your board to think about how do you do business that you need to do, and make sure that you do it respectfully in the public's eye, which is who you should be serving. Thank you.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
what was the house number again?
Sure. 2837 Depot Road.
Thank you.
And if you'd like a picture from her driveway, I'd be happy to give it to you or show you. So.
Okay.
Do we have anybody else signed up? No? Anybody else care to comment? No? You good today? Okay. Thank you very much. That takes us to the financial overview and FY18 budget. Rosalie, expect that to be you.
Okay, well, we'll start with Schedule 1, and I guess overall revenue tonnage is short of budget by 10,750 tons. And all of that shortfall is in the market tonnage. The net impact, the cost of service is, right now it's $31.29 versus a budget of $28.75, or $2.54 greater than planned. This impacts not only the cost of service, but it also affects the excess revenue available for distribution. So that everyone is aware. So that's, I'm going to say the news on Schedule 1.
Before we move on, I think we've talked about the downturn in market tonnage, and I know we lost the Griffin pipe. Is there anything else driving that number?
No, I've included a tonnage report that I was
Saw
gonna-
that.
Yeah, and
You want to talk about that a little later then?
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Just curious, I saw our trend seems to be continually below last year, and I don't know if there's any outside influences on that, but we can have that conversation at tonnage. it is what it is in terms of financials.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
on Schedule 2 is the expense side, and really, right now, expenses are pretty much on budget, even with some of the overages that we've talked about over the last 8 months, as far as we had some odor-related expense, we had some additional outside equipment repair and some equipment rental. But those happen, and they're just going to continue to impact the budget slightly. But right now, for the expense side, we're actually kind of on target. So, so that's, I'm going to say, the good news, bad news, so to speak. The detail, the rest of the detail is there for you with the salaries, which is Schedule 3, the individual line items for the O&M costs, is Schedule 4. And I don't think we need to go through all of them unless y'all have any particular questions. The balance sheet is also included for your information. Nothing really there to highlight that's unusual. Schedule 7 is the updated capital equipment fund, just to show how that fund will be used and what's going in it. And we also have an updated, I guess, the future disposal planning reserve for the work that the task force is doing. And by the end of next year, technically we won't have any additional funds in that reserve. And then the next page is just a reminder of the O&M reserve balance that we do have on hand. We had said, right now, I guess at the end of, at 7/1/16, we had $794,000 in there. We had talked about, keeping a reserve for 90 days. And so technically we're spent $25,000 of that. This is how much we have left on the borrowing to spend as well, down at the very bottom. So I didn't know if anybody had any particular questions on any of the line items.
Only line item I had was the Hall Road. I think that was up to $120,000. Materials going up there, just the length of the road was, we usually use a lot of stuff that we get to buy the Hall Road.
The Hall Road, we purchased stone from the local quarry to keep the Hall Road maintained for our customer traffic in and out. And this fall and winter, early fall and in the winter time, we just had a lot of weather-related days that we needed to keep the road intact.
Okay, well, you and I chatted that I'd heard from some of the commercial haulers that was a point of concern, so I appreciate your efforts to keep the road up. I didn't have any other, did you all have any other questions on line items?
And I guess the budget, if Clark wanted to, is that next on the list? Sorry. Yeah. The budget is included in this report as well. Clark has included a budget summary. I don't think it's changed that much since the last time it was presented, but I'll let Clark go through that.
No, it's pretty much the same as the last time we presented the proposed budget. As Rosalie mentioned earlier, the tonnages this year are down from last year. We've kept in the last 5 or 6 budget years, we've kept our tonnage projections flat. We haven't increased them 2007, 2008 recession areas when the tonnage really dropped and it really hadn't picked up back that much. So we've just kept our tonnage projections flat, and as you see this year, we have decided to go ahead and decrease those tonnage projections about a little bit over 1%. The revenue we have budgeted is $7,459,122, which matches our expenses, and that's about a 3.2% increase over this current year. A lot of that's due to additional debt service and also the additional odor mitigation efforts that we've employed. We are including a 2% proposed employee salary increase in the FY18 budget. The disposal cost of service, we're proposing a $1.50 increase per ton increase. Would take our member disposal cost to $30.25 per ton, and maintaining a $10 differential for our market rate customers. We're proposing the market rate at $40.25 per ton. Excess revenue, at this time, we're projecting $1,322,953 divided between $404,824 distributed to Lynchburg and $918,129 to be distributed to Campbell County.
What's happening with health insurance for the employees?
I understand it's approximately a 5% increase this year.
I think when this budget was initially put together, we rolled in it's a 6. But it looks like if you're looking at the budget from this year to last year, we had 2 new employees, not knowing how they would come in. We put them in for family coverage, so it's a little bit higher. But so our increase is a little over 5%, and what we will do is split that increase between the same proportional amount that we're splitting it today between the employer and the employee.
Right, as we discussed it, LGC.
I'm sorry?
As we discussed at the LGC.
Right.
Yes. Because it's a single plan, once the local government council decides how to do that, our other organizations just have to go along.
Policy. And the 2% would be effective July 1? You need us to take action on the budget this afternoon?
I think the
You
budget
do
does
have
need
to
to
set
be
a
approved.
public hearing for May because you're increasing the rates. I would note that we do have funds in here for the completion of the planning process. And we're working with that committee now to shorten that process so that we can save as much money as we can as we conclude the planning process. But there's not money in here for implementation
Of the work group's efforts?
of whatever they come up with. We'll have to look at other sources for figuring out how to move forward with the implementation.
Okay, and this is the FY18 budget. If it takes 10 years to get something permitted, we'd really be looking to incur costs around FY19 in terms of future planning for disposal, right? So the work group would bring forward some recommendations. We'd vet those, decide which way to go, and essentially you've got a 10-year horizon to get it done. And so I presume if we're out of landfill space in 2029, we'd be starting to mobilize around that around 2019. Is that correct?
Whether you do anything in FY18 or not, I don't know. Partly will depend on the recommendations.
Of the group. Okay.
But it could be, well, that we wouldn't start implementing until FY19. I just don't know.
Too early to tell. Okay. You guys have any questions on budget for now?
I would point out that all of the reduction in tonnage that Clark and his staff are projecting is coming from the public sector.
Right.
That the private sector tonnage is scheduled to be the same,
Not us.
right?
Not Nelson. Ours is up.
Yeah, a couple of the members' tonnage
Of
is
course, I
down.
don't disagree with that.
Yeah, the city of Lynchburg has been reducing their sludge amounts that they're coming to the authorities, so that does have, somewhat of an impact on on our bottom line.
Yeah, we think theirs might be actually higher, but we're good with the number right now.
And Mr. Hefty, in terms of the public hearing, we will advertise and at the May meeting, hold a public hearing.
A public hearing in May, adopt the rates, and you can adopt the budget in May as well. Just these are the numbers you probably should use for your budgets unless anybody's uncomfortable with them.
Clark has sent out some preliminary notices to our larger customers saying that this might happen, and be heads up on the May 24th.
We've contacted 6 or 7 of our largest private customers and told them that we would be looking at a tipping fee increase, and that did not seem to be a major issue for them.
Never is till the invoice
Yeah,
arrives.
that's right. But we did remind them that it's the first tipping fee increase in 3 years, so.
I appreciate you reaching out to them to give them a heads up. So we need to concur to conduct the public hearing at our May 24 meeting for the final consideration of the budget.
Yeah,
Do we need a motion for that, or can we just sort of get the concurrence of the board?
you just get the concurrence of the board.
You guys good with that?
Concur.
All right. Anything else on budget? All right. Clark?
I included a tonnage report, and as you can see, and as Rosalie described earlier, our tonnages are trending below last year. The next couple of months are typically some of our higher months, so hopefully we'll make up some ground in the next 3 months as far as tonnage is concerned. I don't expect to hit those March numbers. That March of last year on this chart, I believe reflects some of the tornado damage that we received in last year. So I don't expect us to hit that number, but I do expect to see an uptick in through the spring months, the remaining months of this fiscal year. And as I said earlier, we did decide this year to go ahead and reduce our tonnage projections in our budget. I would like to add one more.
Before you leave tonnage, any sense of the season and the impact, the winter season and the impact on our tonnage compared this year to last year?
The winter months are typically our lowest tonnage months anyway. We are down from last year. I'm not sure, it's really hard to tell if that what that's a function of. As you look at the December, January, February months, we're only down 600 or 700 tons per each month. So it's really hard to tell if there's any how to correlate that. But it does trend with typical annual trends those months. And I would like to say also that I don't think this is unusual. I think this is kind of an industry-wide trend, as the tonnages are on the downward tick going into landfills.
Yeah, this is my question, sort of what's driving the tonnage down. Particularly, I've always understood that as economies pick up, one of your early indicators is your tonnage. So we've got to throw away our old stuff so we can acquire new stuff.
Well, I like to use the Heritage High School as an example. We thought we might be getting a huge bump from the demolition there, but we really didn't. And I think it's a lot of that material is being repurposed and recycled, which is a good thing.
Okay.
And our recycling rate in the region is well above what the state requires. I believe last time it was roughly 30. I think it was 32%.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions on the tonnage report?
No.
Clark, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, just quickly add to the director's report is just for your information and update. We're in the process of negotiating the final payment to our contractor that performed the closure construction project at the Concord Turnpike. We're holding back some of the retainage because the contract substantial completion date, actual substantial completion date exceeded the original contract date, so, and it caused the region to incur some additional expenses, so we're in the process of negotiating that final retainage, which in the amount of $61,000 is what we're holding back right now. A little over $61,000, I believe. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Brings us to other business. I have just a few items I wanted to touch on. Any more word from the youth ministry? We asked them to talk to the citizens group. Have you guys heard from the youth ministry proposal?
I have had some conversation with their director, you know, and we have a board meeting coming up, so it'll be something that our board discusses from that standpoint, although it's your property.
Still out there, though.
So, you know, I don't know, and, you know, what you want to do with it.
Good deal. And then any more discussion with the residents at Willow Lake?
Yes, I reached out to Mr. Dennis, who's been their representative, and I explained to him what the board approved at our last meeting to offer them to assist in a sediment excavation project, and he's asked a couple questions, but I haven't heard any acceptance at this point. They've not indicated that they would or would not accept that payment.
Okay. And then finally, just for the other members, I have not caught up with Susan to start working on a new proposal on property protection based on assessed values. So I fully own that, and hopefully we'll have something at the upcoming meeting. Anybody else have any other business?
I'm just wondering if it would be appropriate to ask Clark to look into the screening issue for the citizen?
Absolutely. I wouldn't limit it to the citizen. I might start with the citizen, but
Sure.
take on screening generally to see if there is more work we can do to,
Absolutely.
you know, better insulate the adjoining properties. Would be curious to see what the recommendations on that might be.
Okay.
Anything else, Brian?
No.
Steve?
Nope.
Okay, cool. We've got adjourn next, but I think we need to do a closed session before we adjourn. So if there's no further business, I think we have a motion in our packet as to closed session.
I move that the board go into closed session in accordance with the Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1 for the discussion of personnel, promotions, and salaries of employees of the services authority.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, move into closed session then.
To wait until you come back in.
If you don't mind.
I'm here until ballpark is 5 o'clock
We
anyway.
had a group in there until 2:30.
Get this started, so maybe we'll be finished early.
Okay. Frank.
There's got to be some good on TV.
Something good on TV here.
How you doing?
March Madness.
Dorset, sure.
I'm sorry?
You can watch Supreme Court hearings.
You have Dorset?
I missed
much.
this closed session in November.
It tells you to stand up and move around. Pops up, and says,
Well, I
time to stand.
got one of the, I wanted in the drawing, a wristband type thing.